Jimmy Fallon walked onto the stage with his usual energy, clapping and pointing at the cheering audience as the Roots played a jazzy riff to introduce the next guest. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, the legendary Denzel Washington. The audience erupted as Denzel walked in, smiling faintly, dressed sharp in a black suit, nodding to the crowd as he shook Jimmy's hand and sat down. Jimmy leaned forward with his trademark grin. "Man, Denzel Washington. I gotta say, you look better than me in my own suit. I don't know how you do it." Denzel gave a quick laugh but didn't lean back comfortably like most guests. He kept his posture straight, almost reserved, his hands clasped together as he studied Jimmy. "You try too hard, Jimmy," Denzel said with a smirk, half joking but with an edge that made Fallon shift in his chair. "Just relax, man." Fallon chuckled nervously. "Oh, I'm relaxed. I'm the most relaxed guy in late night. I'm practically lying down here." The audience laughed, but Denzel didn't smile much. Instead, he tilted his head. "You ever wonder if maybe all the laughing, all the clapping, all the games, maybe it's covering up the fact you're not really saying anything?" The air shifted slightly, the crowd gave an awkward murmur, and Jimmy blinked quickly, caught off guard. "Well, I mean, we do say things, we talk, it's fun, that's what people like, you know." Denzel leaned in, his voice calm but heavy. "Fun is good, but truth is better. People remember truth." Fallon tried to recover. "Oh no, I hear you, absolutely truth, but hey, we're also here to have a good time, you know, not bring everybody down with serious stuff. Come on man, you're Denzel, you've given us truth in every movie you've ever done." The audience clapped at that, but Denzel didn't let the moment go. "Movies are one thing. This right here is supposed to be you. So who are you when the cameras go off, Jimmy?" The studio was tense now, people unsure whether to laugh or stay quiet. Fallon raised his eyebrows, gave a small shrug. "Well, I'm Jimmy Fallon. The guy you see is the guy I am, you know, goofy, silly, probably drinks too much coffee, that's it." Denzel studied him like he was auditioning, then suddenly leaned back and said flatly, "Nah. I don't buy it." Fallon forced a laugh, tugging at his cue cards. "You don't buy it? What, you think I'm a robot, like some comedy machine?" Denzel shook his head slowly. "I think you hide behind jokes because you're scared of what's underneath." Fallon's smile cracked for a moment. The band didn't know whether to play a sound effect or not, and the crowd went into a strange mix of laughter and whispers. Okay, Fallon said quickly, trying to defuse the weight. "You're Denzel Washington. You can psychoanalyze anybody and make it sound dramatic. But come on, I just like making people laugh. That's my job, that's why I'm here." Denzel's expression hardened, and then out of nowhere he said sharply, "Fuck off, stupid." The crowd gasped. Some laughed nervously thinking it might be a bit. Others looked around waiting for Fallon's reaction. Fallon froze for a beat, eyes wide before forcing a chuckle. "Okay, wow, alright, Denzel Washington, everybody keeping it real tonight." He clapped his hands, trying to steer the audience back into applause, but the tension lingered in the air. Fallon leaned closer, his voice a little more serious now. "You really mean that? Like, are you messing with me, or is this you actually upset?" Denzel didn't raise his voice, but the way he spoke made it feel heavier than shouting. "I mean it. You don't listen, Jimmy. You interrupt. You turn everything into a joke. Sometimes you just gotta shut up and let people talk." Fallon blinked, his grin breaking down into something more fragile. That's fair, I guess. I do interrupt sometimes, but that's just the rhythm of the show, we keep it moving." Denzel didn't budge. "Or maybe you're scared of silence. Scared of something real slipping through." The audience was hooked now, leaning forward as if they were watching a movie unfold live. Fallon rubbed the back of his neck. "Okay, well, I wasn't expecting to get roasted by Denzel Washington tonight, but hey, I can take it." He tried to laugh again, but the awkwardness wasn't going away. He shuffled his cards. "So, you've got this new project coming out. Let's talk about that, because people want to hear about your work." Denzel didn't smile, just nodded slowly. "Sure, we can talk about the project. But don't try to dodge the truth, Jimmy. People see it when you do." Fallon's eyes darted toward the audience and back, his showman instincts telling him to regain control, but part of him knew the confrontation was real, not scripted, not a game. The Roots played a soft riff to fill the silence, but nobody was laughing now. Denzel finally leaned back, crossing his arms, as if giving Fallon space to decide how to continue. Fallon swallowed, looked into the camera, and with a slightly shaky laugh said, "Well folks, this is turning into one of the most honest interviews I've had in a while, so, stick around because we're not done yet." The audience applauded loudly, partly out of habit, partly because they could sense something unpredictable was happening. Fallon looked back at Denzel, who just stared at him, calm and unblinking, and for the first time in years Fallon wasn't sure if he was the one in control of his own show. The applause slowly faded as Jimmy shuffled his cue cards again, forcing a smile that wasn't landing the way it usually did, the audience picking up on the undercurrent of discomfort as Denzel sat perfectly still, watching him like a hawk. "So, let's get back to this project of yours," Jimmy said, trying to lighten his tone. "You've got this movie coming out, right? People want to hear about it, I want to hear about it." Denzel leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees. "You want to hear about the movie, or you want to hear me say the lines your producers told you to ask about?" Fallon blinked rapidly, chuckling, "Oh come on, we don't script everything. I mean, I've got some notes, yeah, but I'm genuinely interested. It's you, man. Denzel Washington. Whatever you say is interesting." Denzel's eyes narrowed slightly. "That's the problem. You don't actually listen. You just wait for me to say something that fits the bit so you can jump in with your laugh or your joke. You're not talking to me, Jimmy, you're talking at me." The audience was silent now, no canned laughter, no clapping, just the uncomfortable energy of people who didn't know whether they were watching a brilliant unscripted moment or a disaster unfolding. Fallon's smile faltered again, and he rubbed his knee nervously. "Listen, I'm trying, okay? I know sometimes I interrupt. I've been told that before. But I swear it's not because I don't care what you're saying, it's because we have time, we've got to keep the pace up." Denzel shook his head, his voice low but piercing. "Pace doesn't matter if you've got nothing to say. You want to keep people's attention? Give them something real. You think people remember the silly games you play, or do they remember when you actually have a moment of truth with somebody?" Fallon leaned back, his voice softening. "People like the silly games. They like the fun. That's the brand. That's why they tune in. And maybe I hide behind that, yeah, maybe it's easier to laugh than to sit here and deal with somebody telling me I'm fake." The crowd murmured at that moment, Fallon dropping his guard more than usual, and Denzel gave a slight nod. "Now we're getting somewhere. That's the first honest thing you've said tonight." Fallon exhaled, tapping his stack of cards against his knee. "Well, what do you want me to say, Denzel? That I'm insecure? That I'm scared of dead air on live television? That I feel like if I don't make people laugh for even a second, they'll change the channel and forget me? Because yeah, I feel that. Every night." The audience gave a soft clap, not laughter but appreciation, and Fallon glanced around uncomfortably before looking back at Denzel, who studied him for a long beat. Then Denzel said calmly, "That's better. That's human. But don't confuse being human with being weak. People respect the truth even if it hurts." Fallon nodded slowly, almost grateful but still tense. "All right, well maybe this interview is going to be the realest thing we've done on this show in years." He tried to smile again. "I mean, I don't usually get told to fuck off stupid by my guests, so that's new." The audience laughed nervously, releasing some of the tension, and Fallon added, "Maybe that's a clip we'll be running for the next decade." Denzel cracked the faintest smirk. "You asked for honesty. That's what it looks like." Fallon shook his head, still half in disbelief. "Well, I didn't expect honesty to come with profanity, but hey, we're breaking barriers tonight." He set the cards aside completely now, leaning in. "So tell me then, if you don't like the way I do this, what would you do differently? You've been interviewed a million times. What's the right way?" Denzel held the silence for a moment, his pause making Fallon visibly restless. Before answering, "I'd listen. I'd let people sit in their truth without trying to make it cute or funny. And I'd stop worrying about whether the audience is uncomfortable. Discomfort can teach people something." Fallon pursed his lips, nodding slightly. "That's hard to do when your job is literally to make people comfortable, to make them laugh before bed." Denzel replied quickly, "Then maybe your job isn't what you think it is. Maybe you're not supposed to be a clown every night. Maybe you're supposed to be a mirror." The audience reacted with a collective murmur, like they were witnessing something more intimate than they signed up for. and Fallon ran his hand through his hair. Man, you're really giving me therapy on my own show, huh? Denzel shrugged. Maybe somebody needs to. Fallon sighed and gave a small laugh. Not as forced this time. Alright, fair enough. You're not wrong. I can accept that. I don't like how you said it, but I hear you. Denzel leaned back finally, folding his arms. Good. Then maybe the rest of this interview can actually mean something. Fallon nodded slowly, glancing again at the audience and then the cameras, his showman instinct returning but more muted. Okay, then let's talk real. Let's talk about your career, not just the film. What keeps you going? What keeps you sharp? Because you're still out here commanding every role like it's day one. Denzel gave a small smile, the first genuine one all night. Discipline. Focus. Knowing the difference between what's real and what's noise. You lose sight of that, you're done. Fallon raised his eyebrows. And you think I'm caught in the noise? Denzel didn't hesitate. I know you are. Fallon bit his lip, sat back, then chuckled softly. Maybe I am. But hey, at least it makes good television, right? The audience laughed this time, a little louder, breaking the tension again. Denzel smirked faintly, for now. Fallon pointed at him. You're tough, man, I'll give you that. Denzel replied, I don't come here to play games, Jimmy. Fallon took a deep breath and exhaled. Well, we still have more show left tonight, and somehow I feel like this is only the beginning. The crowd clapped, sensing they were in the middle of something rare, while Fallon and Denzel exchanged a long look, the air between them charged, the conflict not resolved but simmering, promising more before the night was through. The show returned from a commercial break, the lights brighter now, the Roots playing a playful riff as if to reset the mood, but the audience was restless, whispering to each other because they knew they were watching something different than the usual Tonight Show. Jimmy sat forward, his hands clasped, his grin a little more cautious now, and Denzel leaned back in his chair, calm and collected, his eyes steady. So Jimmy began, before the break, we were getting real, maybe too real, but hey, that's what happens when you've got Denzel Washington in the building. The audience clapped lightly, unsure whether to laugh or not, and Jimmy added, I gotta admit, I've never had a conversation like this on air. Usually we're talking about funny stories, embarrassing moments, you know, stuff like that. But you're pushing me, man, and I kind of respect it. Denzel nodded slowly. That's because you're finally showing yourself. Not the clown, not the host, just Jimmy. Fallon gave a small laugh, shaking his head. Man, I don't know if people want that though. They came here for fun, not therapy. Denzel's tone was measured. People came here for honesty. They just don't know it until they get it. The audience murmured again, caught between tension and fascination. Fallon leaned forward. All right, then let's be honest. You came out here tonight and told me to my face, fuck off, stupid. That's not exactly how guests usually treat me. What made you say that? The question hung in the air, bold and dangerous, and the crowd leaned in. Denzel didn't flinch, because you weren't listening. Because you were treating me like another stop on your late-night carousel. I don't do that. If I'm here to have a conversation, not to be a puppet. Fallon swallowed, nodded, and then smiled faintly. Fair enough. It hurt, but maybe I needed to hear it. The audience clapped softly, and Fallon looked around before adding, I just hope the network doesn't fire me for letting Denzel Washington roast me alive on air. That line broke the tension. The audience laughed hard. Even Denzel cracked a grin. Fallon seized the moment. Okay, let's try something different. Let's actually talk about life. What scares you, Denzel? You've got Oscars, you've got respect, you've got the career. What keeps you up at night? Denzel paused, considering, and then said quietly, wasting time. That's my biggest fear. Wasting time on things that don't matter. That's why I called you out. Because you've got this platform, millions watching, and you waste it on fluff. You could do more. Fallon's smile faded as he listened, and he nodded sincerely. That hits. Maybe you're right. Maybe I have been hiding. Maybe I've been scared to go deeper because it's safer to just play games. Denzel leaned in slightly. Safe doesn't inspire anybody. Fallon looked down at his desk, then back at Denzel. and said softly, "Well, maybe tonight changes something." The audience applauded, sensing a resolution forming, but just as Fallon was about to wrap it up, Denzel added sharply, "As long as you don't slip back into your act tomorrow like nothing happened." The comment stung, and Fallon tried to laugh it off, but the audience reacted with a gasp laugh mix, feeling the jab. Fallon forced a grin. "Well, I guess we'll find out tomorrow if I'm still the clown or not. But tonight you got me, man." He extended his hand, and after a long pause Denzel shook it firmly. The audience erupted in applause, cheering loudly, sensing the tension finally breaking into mutual respect. Fallon looked into the camera, his smile now genuine but subdued. "Ladies and gentlemen, this has been one of the realest interviews we've ever had on this show. Denzel Washington, everybody." The Roots played, the lights shifted, but the energy in the studio was electric, people buzzing because they knew they had just witnessed something raw and unscripted, a conflict that turned into something deeper. And when the cameras cut, Fallon leaned toward Denzel off mic, still shaking his hand, and whispered with a faint smile, "You really blindsided me tonight." Denzel smirked. "That's how you know it was real."